Okay, so here's a challenging, because anybody listening, or some people listening, will also be facing this challenge. What kind of what would you say to a couple that's considering divorce? Things are really leaking oil, and if they're going to come and ask you for some help, or even they're listening in, what would you say to people who are feeling a little bit like this is run its course, running out of gas?
Okay, I want to hear what you would have to say, but I think maybe just a couple of caveats. One is that if there is a situation of physical abuse, get to safety. That's number one. And I know that sometimes the church, in our concern and high value for marriage, we have sometimes communicated to people, usually especially women, that they need to stay in a place that is unsafe, and that's just not true. So please get out and find help. Also, I would say if you're if there's been infidelity that you're dealing with, you're going to need help to walk through this. And so you talk to someone who's trusted to navigate this and find ways to set new boundaries and process your own forgiveness, and then from there consider whether restoration is an option. So those are the two caveats. But most of the time, when people are considering divorce, it seems to be because marriage is hard. It's hard because there are conflicts, and those conflicts can just kind of build up and layer, and they become really hard to untangle, right? And there are hurts that can resurface, so there are lots of layers of hurts. And I think, too, that you were mentioning earlier, we have this script of perpetual romance and excitement for marriage, and when that doesn't seem to be unfolding, we think that there's a problem with the marriage. But actually, marriage is meant for everyday life. It is meant to be lived out this way, and so it won't always be exciting. I think that in these times, one of the first things to do is probably to reach out for help, talk to a friend, someone in your small group. But I think too, one of the things we can do is practice being kind. And so it's amazing how much when our hearts can actually change when we take the discipline to show someone kindness every day, pray for them. That could do a lot to shift the relationship right there. Those are some of my thoughts. What would you say?
Well, so on that, right, we both have sort of worked through points of gratitude. If you've got a temptation towards resentment or complaining spirit, it was like, start the day with 3 things you're grateful for. And so if you gave me that assignment with Colleen, just start the day with 3 things that you're grateful for. If I could think of it in the heat of an argument, remember the 3 things here that that you are grateful for. So it is an amazing, like I was saying earlier, it's like a magnifying glass on your soul being married to somebody. Because, I think we really Colleen and I had a weenie argument. Mostly it was me. And I can't remember, it was something like a bag of sugar. It was something silly. And it just seemed to like get bigger and bigger until at the end you're like, hey, that was I actually think it was bananas that I bought that weren't organic. But the whole thing got like this big, and then we realized, man, this is about bananas.
Yeah.
Which we could feed to the dog and then be done with. But dang, if I didn't want to be patted on the back for the 13 things I did get right on the grocery list. And the whole thing just sort of went in mushroom cloud on us.
Yeah.
So that's the kind of humiliating piece of being married. So, okay, so I think that's exactly right what you said. Like when a person's at risk, and usually it's a woman, physically, emotionally, psychologically, otherwise, then you get to high ground and come find us, come find family members, get safe. And like Colleen and I said, we're just never going to say that word.
Yeah.
Not available to us.
Yeah.
Oh, so dang it, girl, you're with me for come hell or high water. And so, that's kind of fun because we can kind of look at each other and we know where this is not going to go. And we've been down the road before. There's been inorganic bananas purchased before. And we'll get through it. But it doesn't bring the heat down. Gosh, I wish it would. So the other thing you were saying, divorce happens because marriage is just hard. And I totally agree with that. And I think I read somewhere, and this might be old information because I think I've been using it for 10 or 20 years, but the number one cause for divorce, breakdown in marriages was neglect.
Yeah.
And I'm always shocked when we have like soccer parents that were soccer parents with us when the boys were young. And then the last one leaves the house, and a year or two later, they're going different ways. And it's kind of like, hey, who are you?
Yeah.
And we were committed to a program of raising kids. But so, make that investment now, whatever that looks like. You can go for a pretty cheap walk, but prioritize time together, and make these sorts of things. Sometimes I think you mentioned somewhere, this is what our marriage vows are about.
Yeah.
Like we make these vows, right? For better, for worse, for richer, for poor, in sickness and in health, as long as we both shall live to love. And you think, you don't make them for the wedding day when you're both super beautiful and lovely and photogenic. It's year 7, it's year 13. It's when you really go through some tough stuff. And I think, what's the Bonhoeffer quote? It's actually from a letter he wrote, or a sermon he wrote from prison to his niece. But you think that love is going to sustain your marriage.
Yeah. Let
Let marriage sustain your love. And so there's this covenant love that God makes to us and says, I am yours no matter what. And then we go off and make a mess of things, and God says, that hasn't changed. I'm yours no matter what. And so you've said that to Brad. I've said that to Colleen, no matter what. And I already know there's going to be days when that's not going to be super easy.
Yeah.
And there's going to be days when it's the most fun thing in the whole world.
It is. Yeah.
So we're going to wrap soon, but I'm interested in your thoughts, final thoughts, stuff we missed.
Well, I like what you said about divorce just not being an option, and it comes out of that covenant that we made at our marriage. I do often think about Ruth Bell Graham's fantastic quote when she was asked if she had ever considered divorce with Billy Graham, and she said, divorce never, murder yes. And so I just think that's just such a real acknowledgement that sometimes you just get to this place where you just wonder what's going on. I think I'm glad for the conversation. I hope that it makes it possible for others to have these kinds of conversations, because it is important. These are significant relationships. We had a conversation about friendship before, and also significant. And I love the idea of more of us actually talking about how we do friendship and how we do these kinds of romantic relationships.
It looks like you have a great marriage.
I think so.
I'm in the middle of mine. It feels great. None of them are perfect.
No.
So would never want to communicate that to anybody. Man, this is perfect, and it just gets better and better. And C.S. Lewis makes a quote like this. There's this longing piece, for all of us, whether we're married or single, there's this longing for this. It's a perfect intimacy. It's the right union. It's the thing we've been hoping was going to happen. We realize now it doesn't happen in marriage. It isn't perfect in human marriage. The whole script of the Bible is aimed towards this story of a wedding feast. And it's intentional on God's part, a wedding feast, the wedding feast of the Lamb, where Jesus and the church are brought together. There's a great banquet. It's this, he doesn't say it's a family reunion. He says it's a wedding feast. And so I just want to say that longing that you have, that I have, that anybody has, single, married, or otherwise, for that sort of perfect unity, to know and to be known, like it's coming. And all of this, whether married life or single life, is preparation for that. And God has these pieces in place, and he's moving us together towards this we believe, great event. History has a purpose in our lives, have a meaning.